Okay. Looking at here is this is gonna. Are you testing 1 2 3? Can everybody hear me? Can you hear me
You are
now?
good to go, Mike. The floor is yours.
Okay, here it comes. This is the moment of truth. I've been practicing this. We're going to try to share a screen here. Here we go. Is everybody seeing that?
Yeah, Mike, we can see it. You're looking good.
Okay, distribution options. We're going to start the slideshow from the beginning. So, can you see that distribution options for your retirement plan? People smiling.
Yeah.
Oh, great. All right. A big thank you to Makara, Ray Makara, right? He gave me that. I would have never had the ability to do that. He recommended that last week. So I've been practicing this for a long time. What I wanted to talk about, I think this is something that unfortunately right now, especially maybe a lot of people you may know that are faced with distribution options for your retirement plan. So for example, if you had a 401k at your job, if you have a different retirement plan, maybe stock options, either A, you're retiring, or unfortunately B, you're involuntarily retired from your job because of what happened with the craziness that we're going through right now. You're probably wondering, well, what should I do with my retirement plan? And here's some options as far as that goes. It's a fast presentation. Maybe we can spark some questions or what have you. Important disclosures. This is for educational purposes only. It's not intended as investment or tax advice. Securities and investment advisory services offered through Waddell & Reed, a broker-dealer, member FINRA, SIPC, federally registered investment advisor. We've been around since 1937. Tax information referenced herein is just for informational purposes. Waddell & Reed does not provide tax or legal advice. You got Mike Bradshaw as an excellent resource as far as tax advice. Do we have any new lawyers in here? I don't think we've had a lawyer for a while come to the Moore meetings, but I got some good lawyer referrals if you need legal advice. So consult your tax or legal advisor concerning your situation, and I work with those all the time to get the best solution for you. Okay, changing jobs or retiring. Here we go. Okay, so here's the questions that you have if you're leaving your job or you're retiring. Should you leave your assets in the previous employer's plan? Should you transfer assets to a new employer's plan? Roll over to an IRA? What are the consequences of a cash distribution? And what's the best decision? And we like to try to answer that dark question mark at the bottom there with consultation and seeing your situation there. Moving on. Excuse me. Okay, let's start out with some terminology. The number one key you want to hear term when you're talking about IRA accounts, 401k accounts, why they're so beneficial is number one, they are tax deferred. So what that means is, let's say you have $10,000 you invested in an IRA or a 401k plan. Let's say you have $10,000 you invested in a taxable brokerage account. Well, if you look over a period of years, how this grows, if it grows tax deferred, you're not paying taxes every single year on dividends. You're not paying taxes every single year on capital gains distributions. If you sell something at a profit and buy something else, you're not paying taxes on that. So in a nutshell, the tax deferred account, if it's the exact same investments over 20 to 30 years, is going to have a lot more money accumulated. The investment grows, obviously, than your taxable account. So that's why you like tax deferral. That's why we like retirement plans. The government makes a deal with you to grow that tax deferred. Now, another key terminology is the early withdrawal penalty. So the government makes a deal with you. Said, okay, we'll let you grow that money tax deferred for your retirement. We're not going to meddle with your account every single year wanting our taxes. But we're going to tell you one thing. If you need to take that money out early before 59 and a half, we're going to penalize you 10% in most cases. And you're going to have to pay ordinary income taxes, state and federal taxes. So they're going to sock you pretty hard if you take that money out early. Now, there are exceptions. We go to number 3, penalty exceptions. A lot of those are medical expenses. If you have a lot of medical expenses, a medical issue, you can petition the IRS to say, hey, I want to waive my 10% penalty exception. I'm facing harsh circumstances here. Also, another terminology to remember is direct transfer. Okay, what that means is, let's say you have an IRA already. It's sitting in an institution. Maybe you really got along with your former advisor. Your advisor retires. Your IRA gets shifted around with different people handling the accounts. You're not really making a connection, or you're not getting called ever on it. It's just sitting there. The assets are just sitting there. Well, you can say, I want to go to a new advisor, maybe Mike Wargo, and all I do is I give you a couple of papers to sign. That transfers over into our firm, into our custody. So what happens is, and a lot of people that maybe aren't so keen about changing their investments, but just want better service, I get a lot of people to transfer those assets over. At least you're going to have somebody at the wheel looking at the investments, and somebody whose finger is on the switch, as opposed to just being not managed. So that's a direct transfer. And the number one key is the rollover. That's probably the number one term that I use. My clients have been working for many, many years, 20 to 30 years. They've accumulated quite a bit of money in their 401k accounts. Now it's time to leave their job. They want to still continue to get that tax deferral. They want to still continue to work with somebody that can grow that money so it lasts for the rest of their life. So you can roll over the money from your 401k plan or your retirement plan. Single check goes into your IRA. No tax consequences. You don't have to worry about any of that, and you still continue to get the tax deferral. So I'm sure you've heard all of these terminologies many different times in the past. Okay, here's some things to be cautious about. If your company 401k, let's say you only have a $1,000 to $5,000 balance, what your company can do, your company's 401k plan, and you want to read the mission statement for the 401k plan, but this is something to be cautious on if you leave your job. Your company can decide that they're going to be like a bouncer in the bar and kick you out of the 401k plan. We got to have sympathy for the bouncers. These guys can't lift weights right now, and they're out of work. So, have sympathy for bouncers, but they can knock you out of the plan. If it's a $1,000 to $5,000 balance, they can roll you over involuntarily to an IRA with a custodian of their choice. So basically, that's an advisor that they work with. Or if it's less than $1,000, they can simply cash you out. You're going to pay a 20% tax withholding in most cases. So that's something to be cautious about if you have a low balance in your 401k. And most importantly, ask your employer about specific rules that apply to your plan document. I'd be happy to go and overlook that with you, and I can look through that with you, and we can find out those answers. Okay, here we go. Know the facts and know your options. Okay, so option number one, we can leave the assets in your former employer's plan. Okay, now what we just talked about, the balance has to be $5,000 or more. If it's $5,000 or more, fine. You can leave it in there indefinitely. No, we're just going to go back to what we did on the Monopoly board just about a minute ago. You could get the involuntary cash out provision if the balance is less than $5,000. Okay, now the balance rollover is $1,000 to $5,000. They'll roll you over into an IRA of their choice. So that's a custodian you're being forced to work with. If you don't like working with that person, it's America. You can transfer that over to any advisor you want to. Okay, here we go. Things to consider. The balance limits we just talked about. Number one, the investment selection. Most typical 401k plan, they have basically a handful of investments that you can choose from, decent investments, but there's X amount of selection, and that's what you're going to get. Distribution and beneficiary options. So if you like your 401k, and I go over people's 401ks with them, I look at their statements, I can do an analysis on their funds and see how they've done over the years and the fees and what have you. So I'd be happy to do that for people. Option two, transfer the distribution directly to your new employer's plan. So to transfer the distribution directly to your new employer's plan, maintain your tax deferred growth potential. So you still get the tax deferral. That's the number one reason why we go into retirement accounts. Once again, you get that benefit. Consolidate your investments so you're not getting a statement over here, a statement over there. You can put it all into one statement. Investment selection. If you like your new company's 401k plan, let's say they have funds that have performed better in the past. Obviously, there's no guarantee of future results. You can move the investment selection over into your new 401k plan. And distribution and beneficiary options, we can take a look at your plan document to see what those are. Okay, so we move forward. Option three, transfer distribution directly to an IRA rollover. Okay, so transfer distribution directly to an IRA rollover. This is typically what my clients do when they retire. You maintain that tax deferred growth potential, which number one is the key to the retirement plans, like what we said. Now, investment selection, this is where an IRA rollover can be extremely beneficial. Me being an advisor with Waddell & Reed, we have agreements with hundreds of different fund companies. We have selections of virtually thousands of different mutual funds that we can put your money into, as opposed to the 30, 35 funds that you're going to get with a 401k plan. We can do different types of investments. I typically stay conservative in IRAs. We're not trying to do, say, options in an IRA or something where you could lose your money very quickly, but you have access to different types of options. Also, you can work with different products. Examples, you can work with an annuity that can get you lifetime income. If we're going through a volatile period like right now, with these annuities, it locks in every single year the high benefit base, so you can still get that income for life no matter what the market is doing. And we have options to virtually everything out there on the market. Some of the real exotic stuff we don't do, like currencies and things like that. But with your IRA, as a rule of thumb, you don't want to do too much speculation. You want to stay tried and true and try to get decent returns that way. That's what we specialize in. I like to pride myself on a higher service level. Most clients will get a phone call from me. Maybe that I call too much sometimes, but I will be in touch with my clients. I see my clients at more meetings here right now via virtual, but you're going to be working with somebody that's going to be in touch. That's the number one way I get business. I ask someone, when's the last time your advisors called you? Or if you're sitting there with an old 401k plan, are you even getting any service whatsoever rather than a statement? So you get a higher service level. With fees, like everything else, you should always ask about fees. Could be higher fees or lower fees. It depends on a different type of investment. A-share mutual funds, for example, have a front-end load. Investment advisory fees charge 1.5% annuities, but like everything else, if the fees are worth it, if you're getting decent service, if you're getting growth, if you have a plan that makes sense, then just like everything else, like the fees you charge for your business, that's worth it. So higher fees or lower fees, but that's some of the things to consider when rolling over to an IRA. Moving on. Okay, this one, the government would love you. Uncle Sam is your best friend, and they certainly need the money now more than ever if you keep and spend the distribution. Now, unfortunately, with the situation that we're going through, with the rough times that we're going through, a lot of people have no choice but to do this. And if it comes down to, this should be a last resort, an absolute last resort. But if it comes down to taking money out of your 401k or IRA or keeping a roof over your head, yeah, take it out, because this can always be recovered later, or putting food on the table. Unfortunately, that's what a lot of people are facing right now. But here's the ramifications if you do that. If you take the distribution and you take it out, you have the immediate availability of cash. The government's going to tax you pretty hard. You have a hefty potential tax burden. You get 20% withholding of the taxable portion. You're subject to federal and state income taxes. So you got the IRS wanting to go into the trough of your money and taking their part. And then you got the state of Pennsylvania or whatever state you live in coming. I assume everybody here is Pennsylvania. They want to take their cut. And remember, if you're under, that's a typo there. My apologies on that. It's 59.5, but it's a 10% penalty for early withdrawal under the age of 59.5. And once again, you have medical exceptions to that. If you have medical bills from a medical issue, you can petition the IRS to waive that. But in most cases, that will stand as far as that goes. So if we go, let's just use the $100,000 example. They have two examples here. Okay, so you want to take $100,000 out of your 401k or your IRA. The government comes in, 20% automatic federal income tax. Now, this is assuming you're in a 24% tax bracket. So they're going to want another $4,000. That's 24% of $100,000. And then you got to pay your 10% penalty tax minus $10,000. So out of that $100,000, you've given quite a bit of it to the government entities there, and you're taking out $66,000. But whatever you got to do, you got to do. So this should be a last option. If you can tap money from different places, do it that way. But by all means, do it if you have to do it. And unfortunately, a lot of people are faced with that right now. Okay, moving on. Company stock. This is a little more nuanced. I'm just kind of going to go over it in broad strokes. Your own situation will determine what is best for you, but I'm going to touch on it briefly. Okay, company stock. Let's say you're working for a company. They're putting company stock. They have a stock retirement plan. They're putting into your retirement plan. Here's the options you can do. Sell the stock for cash. Roll the stock into an IRA, sell the stock and roll the proceeds into an IRA, or just leave the stock alone. Now, I want to caution, I don't know if a lot of people are doing this anymore, but I remember back 20 years ago, there was a company called Enron. Everybody believed in the company. people were putting money into their Enron stock instead of doing a balanced retirement plan. They interviewed this person. He basically put all this money, all of his retirement money into the Enron stock. His 401k at one point was worth about $600,000 or $700,000. If you remember 20 years ago, I know it was a long time ago, Enron got caught kind of roasting the books a little bit. And basically that stock imploded. The people went to jail that were at the top of Enron. And I remember that person saying they took about $600 out of their account because the stock just imploded. So be careful with company stock. But if they're giving you company stock, this is a little bit nuanced. And once again, I'm just going to touch on this very briefly. Okay, the less the stock is appreciated, let's say you're getting this stock. If it hasn't appreciated that much and you don't have a major cost basis where it really went up, it would make more likely sense to put that into an IRA rollover. And I'm going to explain why in a minute. Where it would not make sense is, let's say you have company stock and you got the stock and the stock has really gone through the roof. It's really appreciated. So let's say your cost basis on the stock is like $100,000, but basically the stock has ran up to $500,000 or $600,000. Okay, you would benefit more from putting that into a taxable brokerage account rather than an IRA, because you're going to pay taxes. You're going to be able to use that cost basis. It's unrealized appreciation. And when you go to sell it, you'd be subject to the capital gains tax. If you're in a 39% income bracket, let's say you're making a lot of money, you're in a high tax bracket, it would make sense to use the capital gains tax, which is a lot lower than what the ordinary income tax is, and do it that way, as opposed to rolling it all into an IRA. When you take it out, you got to pay ordinary income on it. And also, basically, you're forced to take those RMDs at 70. So it's a nuance. If you have any questions, if you have company stock, we can talk to you on an individual basis on that as far as that goes. If you roll the stock into an IRA, you defer taxes on the assets until withdrawal. You defer taxes on future earnings until you withdraw. Once again, we're getting that tax deferral we all talked about. Possible lower income tax rate when you withdraw the assets. If you're a corporate executive now and you're in a top tax bracket, or you're running a business and you're in a top tax bracket, you're going to pay a lot of income tax. But when you retire, if you go down to your retirement income and you're in a lot lower tax bracket, you can take that out and defer it until then and get a lower tax bracket there. Okay, you own stock outside the IRA, you defer taxes on part of the stock's appreciation. You can potentially lower capital gains tax rates, potentially lower. So if the law changes and they lower the capital gains tax rate, we're approaching $30 trillion in debt. I don't really see how they're going to lower taxes too much, but who knows? And it could be potentially favorable to your heirs as far as tax treatment. Okay, or you could just leave it alone, leave the stock in a company plan and say, I'm just going to leave it as is. The plan must allow for this option, and the administrative fees may be less. So we go to why Waddell & Reed? Well, because we're simple, genuine, and a straightforward approach, and we are listening, planning, and advising. And just like anything else, we're talking about whatever firm you work for, whatever company you work for, what are the people really investing in? They're investing in you. My clients are mostly investing in Mike Wargo. I mean, Waddell & Reed, like all other firms, we mostly offer a lot of the same investments and products and what have you in financial plans, but you got to look at the advisor in charge and what the advisor is doing and doing for you. And that's why Waddell & Reed. That's why Mike Wargo, as far as that goes. And at the end, thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, Mike. We appreciate it. So if you stop sharing your screen, then everybody will be able to
I bet I hit this button. Stop share. Here we go.
Look at you.
Okay.
You're like a Zoom now. All right. Here's your warning. I'm going to unmute everyone. Okay. So first, does anybody have any questions for Mike?
I do.
Go ahead, Barry.
Mike, what do you think's been happening in the last couple days? That the stock market has all of a sudden started going the other way again after it's been, for no reason at all, going up.
Well, I mean, short term, anything's going to happen. We're far from out of the woods yet, obviously. We have, 20-some million jobs lost. I think we're approaching 30 million.
Yeah,
That's
we're still down 20%.
And a lot of it was the Fed and everything. When the first crash happened in March, the Fed jumped in very quickly with all of their stimulus. The Fed basically pulled out all the stops very quickly. I think moving forward, the market really ran up and appreciated, number one, because of that. And number two, the market's a leading indicator, thinking that the virus numbers are going to go down. Moving forward, I think the market, I predicted that this would probably happen. I don't know if we're going to retest the lows of March, but a lot of times when we have a bear market, we have a market crash. That's typically what happens. It goes up for a while, bounces, and then it'll come down and retest those lows. And then you typically will have the takeoff to move into a new bull market. But obviously, this is 25 years of experience, but this is something like all of us we've never seen. This is an animal that we've never seen. We've never seen anything like this. All of the other crashes that we've had were economic related, financial crisis, what have you. But we didn't have a health pandemic where can we even get back to work? Are we going to get sick? So we're in something that we've never seen. All I can do is rely on the old models. The old models are eventually the market will form a bottom. And then when we get better news, the market will eventually one day recover. I can't guarantee that. Obviously, I can't see in the future. But once again, there's different investment strategies out there where you can protect your upside when things go well, get lifetime income off of that. And then if the market goes down, so be it. But in the good years, you can take advantage of that. So there's different strategies to combat that. But Barry, your guess is as good as mine. I can't see early. I can't see into the future short term.
Hard to figure.
Yeah.
I have a question. I just want to thank Mike, for your knowledge and really putting things into perspective.
Thank you, Deb.
People may not know this, but he is my advisor, and he is in touch with me, and he does let me go on or let me know what's going on and what my best strategy is. And I never had that. I mean, I honestly, for 25 years, the person that handled ours, my husband and I, we never heard from them. So kudos to you, Mike. Thank you so much for the knowledgeable presentation today, because it really kind of put it into perspective again. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Deb, for working with me, and thank you very much, Skip, for working with me. I'm very honored to be your advisor.
Yeah, and that's where I was going. I mean, Mike started the presentation with that old 401k that they switched into an IRA, and that happened to me. And fortunately, Michael and I had talked, so Michael has taken and done very well for me. The stock market has been going up and down and crazy for the last, I'll say 3 months. But fortunately for me, the situations, some of the losses I've had, Mike was able to make me a lot of gains beforehand. So I'm losing their money, not my money. So, I mean, that's a beauty in looking at this. So, and Michael and I have this ongoing running joke, because I'm one that, okay, I trust you, you do what you need to do, and he takes and hits everything for me. And Michael calls me and wants to go over stuff. And Michael, you just you need to do. You know what you're doing better than I do. Call me if there's an issue. That's how we do it. So, I mean, it's truly very nice to know that it's there and getting involved with it.
And thank you very much for the confidence you have in me. It's very appreciated.
Awesome. Yeah, great presentation, Mike. You
Thanks.
always give us something new and interesting. And in this virtual world, you did a great job.
I'm so happy I figured this out. I was so happy I was able to share the screen. If Ray wouldn't have recommended that last week, I would have been like, hey, look at the picture of the computer here with the video. Hope we can see it. So this is the future. And just like we got to adapt, this is the future. And this is great. And I'm using this with my clients. So there's been a lot. You can take a look at the negative. Oh my God. And it is horrible. And mentally, for about an hour a day, I freak out. Like, what is going on? Why is this happening? You go into the store and you see everybody with masks. Can you imagine, like, even 8 months ago, like being transported through time? Like, what the hell happened? And what's going on? This is like science fiction. But, you deal with it. You get it out of your system. You walk. I've been doing a lot of walking. I'm out here on my mom's farm. I fixed the farm tractor yesterday, while I'm working. So, like, I'm doing a lot of great things. So you can look at anything and just try to do it as a positive. And this is great. I get to spend a lot of time with my mom, and I'm going to be back in Pittsburgh next week. And, we're going to attack this thing, and we will move forward. So that's enough. I've said enough.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, guys. So for next week, would it be useful if I did, like, the briefest of Zoom, kind of how to dive into some of the features? Like, for instance, if I stop my video, you guys should see a picture of me.
It's a nice picture.
So, like, I could show you how you put that up there, that kind of thing. So with something like that, like a little just tutorial of those kind of tips. All right.
Please.
So that's what we'll do for the next meeting. I'll give mine. I know that there are people that know even more than I do, so whoever is knowledgeable can jump in. But that will be our plan for our activity next week.
Am I holding a trumpet in my picture?
Yes.
Okay, I must have logged in through Facebook. That's really cool. Okay, so that's my profile picture.
Very nice.
Okay.
So so we'll do a little bit of that. But all right, guys. Well, it is 2 minutes to 9, so I will let you go. Just want to remind everybody quickly to get out your decal and post it either in your storefront or your office, or if you are mobile or at home. Find a creative way to display this with your business and share it on Facebook or email it to me. So with that, have a great Thursday.
Can I say one thing?
Yes.
I don't know. I had to update my Zoom video program this morning. I don't know if you guys got a message. There is an update, and I guess it's a pretty heavy update. So between now and the next time you use Zoom, you might want to do that.
Yeah, you can go into your settings and update it, and the forced update will occur by the 23rd. So if you don't update on your own by the 23rd, you'll get like what Trent got today, you have to update or you can't actually use Zoom. So they just keep increasing their security features, which is great because everybody was Zoom bombing. Yes, as Chris said. So now you can't do that, thank goodness, because like I said, we like all the weirdos that we know that are in this meeting. We don't want any extra weirdos coming. So
Agreed.
One other real quick question for Chris. You made the vitamin D made a lot of sense. Where's the best place, Chris, to get vitamin D other than a pill and the sunshine?
Sunshine's the only really way you can get a significant amount of vitamin D. There is vitamin D in some foods, but typically
Not enough.
it's really sunshine or a pill. So I recommend people be on a pill for the rest of their lives,
Yep, me too.
especially in Pittsburgh. Yep. It's something I regularly take. I take a lot of it a day. I take 10,000 a day, which is more than what people typically need, but a couple of thousand a day